So today's going to be mainly go over the syllabus and then write sort of slightly more of it hello. It's sort of a copy paste hello world. You're not even going to write code. You're just going to copy code. Okay. Copy. I recorded to this computer or I recorded to the cloud. Okay. Make sure I get you at the end for it. All right. So I'm going to go over the syllabus, and then at the end we will have a lab. And today, at least, I'm recording, and then I'm going to see. I want some feedback from you. Like I don't want to, by setting up a Zoom and recording, I don't want to sort of encourage people not to come. I want them to come and do the labs and so on here and get feedback from me and be able to ask any questions. That's the best way. But if people do end up having to isolate or quarantine, and I know that there are a couple of students who have an overlap with Dr. So I might, for their sake, want to record, but I don't want to record if it's going to impede somebody from asking a question. So just let me know privately or something like that if you don't want me to record. Now, a normal class for me will be me talking for 30 to 45 minutes, and then the rest of the time you doing the lab. So there will be time for you, and if I do record, it will be when I'm up here blathering on, I will record that. And then I'll ask if, are there any questions? You can interrupt me during that, or I'll ask at the end, are there any questions? And those will be questions sort of for the recording if I am recording. And then there'll be a time that you can ask a question during the more of the lab part about your program. So there's always going to be time for you to ask me something more privately about your program. But if you would be reluctant to ask a question, which is better answered up here when I'm talking to the whole class, but if you would be reluctant to ask that question because I'm recording, then I won't record. So there are reasons for me to record if those people come late, and anybody who might have to isolate or quarantine along the way. But the class is designed for in-person. And so if the in-person people say, I'd really rather you get record, then I probably would. But today I'm recording. Okay, and I have one Zoomer. Okay. All right, going over the syllabus. That's me, Tom Blum. Most of my students just call me Blum, just use my last name, which is fine. That's usually what students call me, and that's sort of what we would prefer. But if you were sort of trained, then I should have a title, professor. My office is 133. I'm next to Dr. Red. I'm also often in 124. I'm probably in that lab almost as often as I'm in my office. So another place to look for me. They're pretty close to each other. My office number is 1139. Usually, if you want to find out if I'm in my office, are you in your office? Call the office. But if you end up, I'm not there or something, you want to leave a message, that's probably better done by user. So if you want to communicate with me, if you just want to find out if I'm physically here, call, but otherwise, email. And here's my email on you. This is my website. I used to run the course from my website. In the pandemic, I ended up moving over to Canvas because I couldn't be on campus, and to run my website, I have to be on campus. Or VPN over to campus, which is a pain in the ass. So I stopped putting my stuff there. I may start again, but for right now it's in Canvas. But I have taught this course in the past. You would, so you can get an idea of what we might be doing by looking back. So by going here and finding people. I was teaching it when the pandemic first started, so that is sort of disrupted. But there's a semester before where I taught the certain full course and those materials. The office is 123 right across the hall, and that number is 1130. This semester, Dr. Knappenberger, who's the normal chair of the department, is on sabbatical, and Professor Mikumi is the chair for this semester. Business with the chair, that's the place to go. Okay. Next, I have some office hours. These specific times and dates are to just satisfy the university. I have to have hours, I put them there. I'm here at least 4 days a week. Probably have nothing better to do and we'll show up on Fridays, sometimes even Saturdays and Sundays. I'm available by Zoom. So we can, you're not restricted to these. So, just let me know that you want to talk to me about something and we'll set something up. And again, if you are looking for me, 133 and 124, it's sort of equally likely I'd be in either place. All right, what are we going to do? This course is about mobile computing. We're going to do Android. We're going to do a work in the Kotlin language. And we're going to have to know, we're not going to sort of study the architecture of phones. We're not going to worry about algorithms. We're going to make apps, probably virtual apps, or we're going to run our app on virtual phones for the most part. But that's, but we will have to know things about, say, the life cycle. What happens in your program if the user has to answer the phone in the middle of using the app. So there will be events that are associated with sort of phone usage that we might have to worry about. We're going to have to learn about, it's an interface programming course, so we need to know the objects that the person interacts with, and also the sort of various kind of events. And so that's what this long string of things is. Activities and views and layouts. Layouts and views are sort of about what you see. Activities and intents are sort of things that sort of happen. There are individual simple actions like clicks, and then there are more sort of what's going on in your program. That's more like an activity. I don't give like vocabulary on tests, but I will use the vocabulary. It comes up, but I'm not going to test you on it. So you don't have to like memorize. I will ask in homeworks for you to define words. You don't have to write your own definition. You can copy from somewhere. That's fine. Find it, Google it, find it. Tell me where you found it. That's good enough. I'm not going to test it, but if I use the vocabulary in class, you're expected to can ask, what are you talking about? We want to do mainly interfacing, but we want to do some mobile specific things. So some of the programs could be the same as like a web program. So there's an interface and it does such and such when the user does blah. But we want to do at least a few phone specific things, like maybe a sensor. The phone may know what the temperature is, or they know where you're located using a GPS or something. So we may do some projects that are more mobile specific. You want to work with files. I especially love JSON files, and I like you to be able to work with files that are on the phone, and I like you to be able to work with files that come off of the internet. So we will do some interacting, bringing down images or bringing down data files from somewhere on the internet, and then parsing them and acting. And we probably won't put anything in the marketplace, but I'll probably give you some video or reading about doing it. It used to be sort of like just like free, and I could have people do it, and now it's not as expensive as the iPhone, but it's still not completely, it's not as just go ahead and do it as it used to be for reasons, but so I don't make people do it, but I will make you sort of read about it. Okay, you're supposed to have had Java, the first Java. The course used to be taught in Java. There are two main programming languages used by Android, Java and Kotlin. Kotlin is now the default language to write phone apps in for Android, and it is they're newer than Java and a little, for me, easier to use. Even though I've known Java for longer than I've known Kotlin, Java always seems to be worried about what might go wrong. What if you didn't do this, and what if you didn't do that, and what if you asked for a number but they gave you a letter? Kotlin is a little easier to make something fast. I like to write, instead of writing one big project like you might write for Redmond in your project class, I like to write lots of little projects, and Kotlin lends itself better to little things than Java does, because Java is so persnickety. And besides, you were supposed to already know Java, so when we teach you Kotlin, then you get one more thing on your resume, right? Android programming and Kotlin, so you'll be able to add at least two things to your resume.
The Android framework or libraries for Kotlin is easily transition.
There are, when I was first doing Kotlin, I could take my old Java program and paste it into, paste my old Android, which is written in Java, over into the now set up Kotlin, and it would say, it would say, do you want me to translate for you? And I'd say, yes, please, and it would do it. So there's that. There are actual translators which work but are horrible, because they'll name your variable 001 and just terrible names. You can, let me see, I want you to learn in Kotlin because I want you to have a new language. But if you learn Kotlin, but you set up a program, you said I'm writing in Java and copy, it would translate it, and vice versa. Is that answering the question or not?
I mean, like, I guess some words like you can like translate from, like, I guess it's just like if you learned like Kotlin, like the Android version for Kotlin, like the library support, it would be like really easy to like, switch over to like the Java version.
Yeah, they're, where I find the difference is that the Kotlin code tends to be more succinct. All right, so, like if I'm writing, I have some, I'm interfacing, I write, I have a button, I'm going to click that button, something's going to happen. When I write that code out in Java, it's going to take me even just sort of a simple grab some information from a text view and do a little something with it and display it on the page. In Java, that's going to be 20 lines, and in Kotlin, it's going to be 7. Kotlin's much more succinct. So you'll see in Kotlin, it's like the main things that you were really doing are there, and they've sort of taken out that sort of extra, oh, it's, you know, you went from a float to a double, oh no, that's the way Java is. And Kotlin's going to just say like,
Oh, so it's just like dynamically typed.
It's yeah, easier on that type of thing. It's more succinct. That's one of the ways it's more succinct. So it doesn't, it requires less explicit try catch. So it will so now you can write Kotlin like you would write Java.
Oh, so like
You can write it in this, like, not today, but maybe the next time, maybe Thursday. I will show you, like, here's clicking a button, and I will like show you clicking the button 4 times in Kotlin, and then I'll show you here's the very succinct one, and here's a little bit more, and here's a little bit more, and then like the most long-winded version in Kotlin will look an awful lot like the Java. And then it's just the words that, it's just the like the little keywords that change. So you can write Kotlin like you write Java, but you don't have to. So there's just the like the keyword changes, like it's a different language, so the keywords are different. And you could write in a similar style, or you can write in a sort of a looser style, like because of, as you say, the dynamic variable. So, all right. I teach 2 sections of this course. This is the second one. It's a 3-credit course. This is section 22. We're meeting today at 3:35. Classes started yesterday. If you need to make any changes to your schedule, then that has to happen this week. So if you need to work, if you're trying to get into a closed section or anything like that, then you're going to need to work with an advisor or a chair, and that better happen like Thursday or Friday. If you're just trying to get into some open section of something and you know your pin, then you have up until Sunday to do that. Monday is Labor Day. This course for almost everybody is some kind of requirement in the major or the minor or something. But if you're allowed to, in your life as a student at LaSalle, you're allowed to pick 2 courses that you're going to take pass-fail, so long as they're not major or core requirements, if they're just something for credit, and they can be chosen pass-fail, and you have to do that, you know, in the first couple of weeks. What else? There's an honors convocation, sort of a celebration of the dean's list students. That's listed twice on the academic calendar, and I don't know if there's actually really 2 of them, or if there's a mistake. Like they might be making up for the missed last year, so they might be doing 2, or it might be a mistake and it's just listed twice. I don't know. That's why I have the question marks. The mid-semester break is October 18th, 19th. Mid-semester grades are due October 27th. So do I have any freshmen, do I have any sophomores? Do I have any new transfers? I have new transfers. So I'm gonna have to produce grades for my new transfers. Probably don't have enough. If I have like more than half, then I'll produce midterm grades for everybody. Other times I'll just make the midterm grades for the people I have to. So now I will, anybody who says like, I don't know where I stand in this course can come and talk. So like the new transfers, they're going to get a midterm grade. But anybody else who says, I don't know where I stand, can come talk to me. But a midterm grade is a letter, which doesn't have a lot of information. If you come to me and you say, I don't know where I stand in this course, it's probably going to be, we're probably going to talk for 20 minutes. It's going to be much more nuanced conversation. I have a very lenient late policy. So students can like be not doing well and slacking for a while. And if they pick it up, can do well toward the end. So it's hard for me to say, here's your grade at this point, and like a hard and fast, or at this stage you have a B minus. It's very changeable. Your grade in my course is very changeable if you're willing to do the work. So that's why I want it to be a conversation and not just a simple letter grade. But I will produce a letter grade for those 3 of you who raised your hand as new transfers. If you need to withdraw from the course, say you think you're going to fail or something, that's November 5th. We have an information technology leadership event. We'll see how pandemic things are going. If that event is allowed to be large, then students will be invited and you'll get to meet people from the IT field and computer science field in the community, in the greater Philadelphia area. It's a good time to network and some free food. Okay, Thanksgiving is November 24th, 26th. Classes end Friday, December 10th. Finals week is 13th to the 17th, and I have to produce a final grade for you by the 22nd. There's no text for this course. If by the time they print the text, then Android has decided to change things. So the books go out of date too fast. So we'll be working with sources off the web. I will give you programs. Mainly, I'll be giving you working programs, and then you will make other versions of those programs. So I'll find things on YouTube, I'll find websites, but there's no book. Here's at least the first website, the Android.com Kotlin developer part. Okay. So I'm supposed to have objectives. You're supposed to learn about the mobile and the life cycle and the architecture. Again, you're not going to be formally tested on those things. It's just going to be things that come up within the context of writing an app. You should know these things that make the interface and make the interface do things. So adapters and sets, these are all parts of interfaces or interactions of interfaces. We want to be able to work with data. So data files that are on the device or from off of the internet. We want to do some things that are not just pure interface, something that couldn't just be a web program, something that uses a GPS or some part of the phone with text or One thing I know I have a nice program for is sensor, but maybe one of the other things. GPS used to be nice, and then they made a mess of it, and now maybe it's back to being nice. I'll have to look again. We're going to care about interfacing. It's a large percentage of interfacing in this course. So we want to learn a bunch of widgets. So we want to learn how to use checkboxes and radio buttons and drop-down lists and all these sort of things, and change pictures and all that sort of stuff to have a nice user experience. We're not going to study user design. We're just going to learn how to use the widgets that are in an interface design. So there's like whole courses one could take in designing interfaces. We're not going to do that sort of formal stuff. We're just going to be making interfaces. So lots of repetition and experience with interfacing, but not formally studying. We'll probably won't put it on the marketplace, but we will read about how to do that, and then just you'll have to learn within Kotlin the sort of basic structure. So this should be not anything new programming wise, but more how's it done in this new language, Kotlin. But sometimes, sometimes I find somebody, if you've been getting A's in your programming course, then I'm not going to teach you anything about objects or classes or something. I'm just going to teach you how to do it in Kotlin, but you probably already know how to do all the fancy stuff. If you struggle in those courses, I'm going to make you do it a lot, so you're going to pick up some confidence in it, because I'm just going to make you, I'm going to have easy things, but I'm going to make you do it over and over again, big on repetition. All right, we're going to have 2 tests, but my tests are sometimes split over 2 days, because I tend to want to test you on everything, not vocabulary, not architecture, but just programming. But I want you, if I taught you radio buttons and checkboxes and lists, and then I want a test that covers all those things, and that's too much for 1 day, so I usually split it for 2 days. So my tests usually take 2 days. I don't know the dates of those tests. I'm going to give you at least a week's notice before I give a test, and I'm going to say, when do you have other major exams? So when is Redmond or Mikui or Hiley, when are they giving you a test? And I'll usually ask about major tests. I can't go around your history or your religion, but if Redmond or Hiley's giving a test, I'll want to avoid that, because that would be a lot. And if you're just the one person whose schedule is different from everybody else's, then I can arrange with you to take the test another time. And I'm going to have to arrange anyway with the people. I'm going to have to see what happens with the Hiley people. Like, maybe I'll try to put the tests on Thursdays. So a Thursday and another Thursday. But if that's not working out with the other people and other major exams, then maybe I'm going to have to do something like put the test on Tuesday, and you'll just start it late and have more time to begin. We'll work something out. Don't panic. I know there are people who don't start this class on time, and I agree to that, and I'm going to accommodate you. The final is 15%. That's only 1 day, but it's a longer period in the finals week. I'm going to give you homework that'll be worth 15%. I'm going to give you labs. There's going to be a lab pretty much every day. There's not a test, except at the end when I give you some time to do the project. So I come in, I say, here's my example, and now here's something that I think is like that example, and you do it pretty much every day.
2 labs a week pretty much. And then there's a project at the end. The project is probably me saying, I need to see something with this list of things, but I can be flexible. So if you have an idea that you really wanted to do something, then negotiate with me to do it. That's usually an individual project. I've occasionally, maybe one group, every other time I teach this, might decide we want to do something together. And then I just say, it's got to have more things. If 2 people are going to be doing the project, it's got to have more things. Okay. Everything, homeworks and labs should be done alone. I say the tests are open. I say open book, open notes, but your notes in this course are your programs. So I will write programs, you can use them on the test. You will have written programs, you can use them on the test. And then anything you can Google during the test, you can use on the test. So it's open. And that's the way real programs are written. So it's not, you don't have to memorize stuff and spew it out. You will be copying and pasting. People who insist on typing everything from scratch are probably going to run out of time. All right. If you get code, or if I ask for vocabulary words like I did for homework this week, and you have a source where you found most of your vocabulary words and you said, I don't want to rephrase them, I'm just going to copy and paste them. That's okay. You give me a source. I grade with plus minuses. I take attendance. I usually don't put attendance in the grade. The attention usually means I stay for the lab portion and I work on my lab. That's attendance, that's attention. Just working on the lab. If you don't, and that is your time that I'm a captive audience and you have to ask questions. If you don't have any questions to ask, if everything's clear, then you can take off. It doesn't have to be done. You always have a week to do your projects. So, but it's just that time right after the second half of a class is time for you to work and ask me questions. So if you don't have questions, you don't need to be here at that time. But if you find that you do have questions, then I expect you to have stayed for that time. So I can't see you running out the doors as soon as possible, and then you coming to me on Saturday and wanting to spend 3 hours with me on a Zoom session. That's not going to happen. I'll spend time with you in Zoom on a Saturday if you started in this class asking your questions then. So to ask questions out of class, you've got to be here in class. If you don't need to ask questions outside of class, then you don't need to be in class either. So not attending class is for like smart people who don't need my help. If you need my help, then you need to my help starts here. Okay. If you miss a test, I might juggle the percentages and just make the other tests count for more. Or I might give you a makeup. That's my choice. And if I make up a test, if I take a makeup test, there's a chance it will be harder. You have some idea, and then if I'm making a makeup test, I have not quite as good of an idea. Sometimes my makeup tests are better, but usually they're worse. And when I'm giving a test to everybody here, I make sure I've taken the test so I know that it works. And I may not have time to do that before I give you your individual makeup. And if I'm walking around the classroom and find out somebody misunderstood what I meant, I can sort of prep the whole class that's going to be harder if it's just you. So a makeup is, if you're sick and not going to do well on the test, then it's worth your while to do the makeup. But if you're just faking it and then think I'm going to give you the same test I gave everybody else, but you'll have a chance to talk to somebody, that's probably okay. The tests are cumulative in that you're learning a programming language. You can't like forget a variable now when we move on to other things. You're always going to need, but there will be new material that it focuses on. You should keep everything. One, you're going to use it on the tests. You're going to use your programs on the tests. Also, I should be able to say, I misreported, I lost your record. Please show me everything that you've turned in and that I graded it. What else? My grading scheme is 94 and up as an A, and everything is 3 more points. Classroom behavior. If you want, especially in the lab portion, if you want to just headphones, earbuds, plug in, that's perfectly fine. That's the way a lot of people code. It's just nobody around you, and especially me, shouldn't be able to hear. So long as you're not distracting to the people around you, sort of you can do what you want. Pandemic stuff I have to have, at least for now. We need masks. You should let me know if you have to isolate or quarantine, and I will try to accommodate you. If nobody's objecting, I will post this part of the class and post it. So I will do what I can and I have some things pre-recorded. If I pre-record something and put it on YouTube, I make it public. The world can see it. If it's something like this, a classroom situation, and I put it on YouTube, it will be unlisted. That means that I will tell you guys the URL and you'll be able to see it. But the world won't be able to discover it just by sort of searching a term. There's one more where I'd have to specifically sort of invite you to look at it, and I usually don't go to that level of. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Don't cheat. Just because I just had an interview about a student from the spring. I get asked a lot about students, especially people in computer science and IT. Often they work with data and they need to get security clearances and such. And those people come around and ask sort of awkward questions. Do I have any reason to believe that he's on drugs? And then I just say no. But they ask questions like, do you have any reason to believe about like dishonesty and things like that? And so don't cheat, so that I can answer that question like, I have no reason to believe anything. Now I'm looking at the science. Is he? No. All right, I believe you. All right. So recording. I am currently recording. I'll see if none of you object. I may continue to record, to post unlisted YouTube. If you have an accommodation that allows you to record, you can record. I can record and nobody else can record. So a normal student can't record. For some people, it's an accommodation because they have trouble hearing or something. So they can record if it's their accommodation. I can record. I'll always try to tell you when I'm recording. And if you're uncomfortable with my recording, then I will try to minimize it. But that's about recording, all the stuff they make me put, blah, blah, blah. They make me put stuff about tutors. This is a 300 level programming course that hasn't been taught in 2 years. If you have problems, you're probably going to either ask one of your classmates. I'm teaching 2 sections of this, so there's another set of people that can ask, and then there's me. I don't know if there's anybody from the last time I taught this course. They would have had to be like a sophomore then taking a 300 level course, which can happen. All right, yada, 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 yada. Okay, that's finally done. What am I going to? I'm going to walk through a slideshow that is about if you've installed Android Studio. I don't have anything on installing Android Studio, but if you request it, maybe I'll make one, maybe I'll find one on YouTube. I don't have that, but I'm going to show you like the very first program because it's still going to install stuff. And so I'm gonna walk through a slideshow that says makes a hello world. It was the very first program ever written. I've already written hello world up here, so I'm not going to demo it so much as walk you through a slideshow about it. And then I am going to walk you through turning a hello world program into a different program. Because when you work in Android Studio, it gives you like 700 files. And you can't send me even zipped up 700 files. So you're going to send me like 2 or 3 important files from which I'm going to reconstruct your project. And so you need to learn how to reconstruct the project and so on. So I'm going to give you code from which you reconstruct things, and you're going to give me code from which I reconstruct things. And then I'll show you, and today I'm going to send you like just 2 files. Then I'll show you later, maybe later this week, maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, I'll show you sort of maybe a little bit more structures, maybe some folder structure, but not 700 files worth of structure, but maybe, you know, the most innermost folders. Okay. So that is here. Okay, so we're going to, this is like hello world if Android Studio is installed, but you've never touched it otherwise. Okay, so you have to find Android Studio, go down to the search bar, start typing Android Studio, and then click the icon. It wants to sort of do settings. I didn't have any previous settings, so I just said don't import. But if you had some previous thing, you might want your settings brought in. It wants to know if you want to share your statistics with Google. I usually say yes. Most people say no. There is this welcome screen, and you just click next. You decide what kind of installation. So you're finishing the installation. And you say what kind of installation you want. I'm going to take almost all the defaults. So the standard is the default, and I'm going to take it. But if you had an Android phone, and instead of using an Android virtual device, an AVD, if you're going to use your actual physical device, some of the stuff you're installing has to do with a virtual device, and you can save room on your computer by saying, I'm always going to use a physical device. So there are reasons you might want a custom, but I don't want a custom. My Android phone is ancient, and I don't want to plug it in to this computer. And this computer has a lot of memory, so it's pretty good at emulating. So I'm just going to do standard and next. This is like, do you like the background to be dark and the writing to be light, or vice versa. I like the light. I go over like walk by 151 in the evening and there's somebody there in the black room in the corner typing away. It freaks me out a little bit, but I know that, you know, lots of students, that's what they like, but I like the light. You choose what you want. Look through and see. So now you can see if you, how much room things are taking. And, but I just clicked finish. And then it installs a bunch of stuff. And you can see it all installed okay. This last one, you might have to scroll to see the last one, but that Axum, the hardware accelerator, it is very hit and miss in this lab, whether that works or not. If it doesn't work, if that install failed, this message will be read and will say that it failed. And that is something you report to IT. So if you're working on the computers in the lab and then you run into a problem, you report it to IT. If it's your own computer, then you might want to go into the BIOS and make sure you can do this and that and get Axum working. Okay. Now we're going to create a new project. But we're still not done installing stuff, but we start a project. What kind of project? I'm going to do a phone and tablet template. I'm going to do an empty activity. I'm going to click next, get myself started. I'm going to name my project. That changes the package automatically. You can change the package further if you want. I usually just take I change the names all the time, so all my projects aren't named the same thing. But the package, I usually just accept whatever it tells me. The location is important to make sure you know where things are. But again, I usually accept the default. And the language is Kotlin. We could change it to Java, but I like Kotlin. It's the newer language I'm going to teach in Kotlin. And then there's this minimum SDK. This tells you how backward compatible your program is going to be. Is it going to run all sorts of things or not? If you're using very recent kind of Android stuff, you might need to bump that up. But if you're doing just the normal, simple stuff, you can go back pretty far. There's like 700, not kidding, 700 files that it's generating. And one of the things it makes is this thing called Gradle. And it looks like it's ready to go, but it's not until the Gradle's done syncing the project. So you have to wait for this Gradle message to finish. Now I'm going to run on a virtual device, an Android virtual device in ABD. So I go to Tools and ABD Manager, and I have to make a virtual device. This is another download and install. Okay, so now I'm creating a virtual device. Again, I tend to pick the default one. So it picked for me as the default. A phone, a Pixel 2, I said fine by me, and click next. I have to decide the sort of level of Android programming. I chose, again, it sort of picked this top one, R. I said fine, I clicked the download hyperlink. I'm installing something, so it wants me to agree. I say I agree and click next. Download, 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 install, install, install. And then when it's done, I can say finish, click on finish. It brings me back here and I can download other APIs, but I'm not going to. So I just click next. And then it's naming my AVD. It gave me a default name and I just kept it. So it told me that it was a Pixel 2, it was API level 30. So that's the name it gave me. And I said, that sounds like a good name to me. And I just said, okay, and click finish. And now I'm back to where I had my project and I said I want to run it on an AVD. And I have at this stage one AVD and it is selected. If I had multiple AVDs, one of them would be selected and that would be the one that was chosen and I could pick which one, but I only have one to choose from. And if I wanted, I could make another. All I wanted was one, I want to get out of there, I would be done, so I made one AVD and it is the one I'm choosing for this project. Now I'm ready to run the project, click the little green arrow at the top. That if the project has an error, you won't get the green arrow. If that Gradle isn't synced, you won't get the green arrow. Okay, so I had the green arrow, so I click it, but I get an error message telling me about the build tool revision 31. It's complaining about 31. This error is in the Gradle. So now I show you where the Gradle is. Over there on the left, I expand the Gradle scripts. Down at the bottom, there are two build Gradles. I want the module one, I want the second one. If I double click that, it opens this. This is the text of the Gradle. And there are these 31, 31, 31, 31. And that's the error message was referring to these 31s. But when I made the AVD, it was a 30. So I'm going to change all these 31s to 30s. And then I'm going to have to resync the Gradle, and then I'll be ready to go. So that's just me typing. I changed 30, 30, 30. And now I have to hit sync now. It's going to take a minute to sync again. When it syncs, then I get the green arrow. Now I can run my program and it will hopefully succeed. I succeeded, I got hello world. So I have an AVD. This is my virtual phone. You can see my computer screen behind there in screen capture. This is just a fake virtual phone up on the screen. If you are writing more code, you want to change the code, you do not have to, under normal circumstances, close the AVD. So it takes some of the computer's processing to start up the AVD. You don't have to close this normally. To make a change in the program, it will re-download and rerun your new program onto the AVD that's already open. That's most of the time. I'm going to shape some number, just say, I don't know, 80% of the time, probably 5. Sometimes you're making changes to the code and it's not being reflected in the AVD, then you will have to close it. So most of the time, keep it open, try to run the program. If you know it's like I'm doing the right stuff and it's not seeing my changes, then maybe try to close it. In very rare circumstances, you're going to have to find your program on the phone. So you have this virtual phone, you have this application on the virtual phone. You're going to have to find that virtual application and delete it from the phone. That's rare, but it happens. And when you need to do that, I'll try to give you a heads up. What else? Okay, so here's my success, except I also had this message about a GPU and a message about my antivirus. I was in student lab, and I can't do anything about those errors other than maybe report them to help desk. So I can screen capture and say, I'm getting these error messages, IT department, is there anything you can do? You also want to say what computer you're at. So if you say down in the computer, if you say, in the search, if you start to say computer, and then it says like this PC, if you right click and get the properties, it will say this computer's name is, and it's usually in this room, it'll be H120 PC. And they count exactly in the opposite direction of what the registrar says. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5. The computer numbers go in the opposite direction to the CD numbers. All right, so that is hello world. Okay. Almost ready for you to do your part. Okay. So now I'm going to show you what you have to do for lab, so we can do it together if you want. So I want to open up Android Studio. That most of what I just showed in that slideshow, many of those things were like the first time only kind of things. So let me make a new project. I'm going to make a new project. Yes. Say again?
I have a problem with mine. So I used to write Android apps on this is like an old project. I mean,
Well, I'll have, like an individual question like that, I'll have to answer sort
never
of.
mind, I just switched myself to a new project.
All right. Okay, so I opened up Android Studio. I'm starting a new project, phone and tablet, empty activity. I'll call it Lab 1. And here is my Lab 1. My Gradle is syncing. Again, this what I'm doing now is what you do for lab. So open up a new project and my Gradle syncing. Then I'm going to have to change my Gradle. I'm going to have to change 31s to 30s. So as soon as it syncs, then I'm going to have to change it and resync it. I'm going to come over here to Gradle scripts, the second one, the module one, double click, and 30 and 30 and 30, and sync again, sync now. Okay, so I'm just getting a functioning hello world. I opened up a new project, I chose phone, I chose empty activity. I had to let the Gradle do its thing. Then I told the Gradle this is wrong anyway and changed 31s to 30s. And I'm resyncing. And I have now a green arrow, so it must be resynced. And I'm going to run it. And should open up my AVD, my virtual phone. Here's my virtual phone. And if all is good in the world, it should say hello world. Hello world. So I have a functioning hello world. I open a new project, empty activity. I changed 31s to 30s. I synced, and I run hello world. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to turn that hello world into this other program I call Hello Stranger. And this, what I gave you for Hello Stranger is just 2 files, but the 2 most important files, other than maybe the Gradle. So I'm going to, I have to open that and then download it. So here's my Hello Stranger. I'm going to extract it. I always have people who try to work with these files without extracting them, but always extract stuff in zip. And I have 2 files here, activity_main, which is an XML file, and MainActivity.kt. This is my layout. This is what I will see, and this is my code. This is what it will do. I'm going to open activity_main with Notepad++. And here it is. Here's where I did it earlier in the day. So here's my activity main. I'm going to highlight everything, Control A. I'm going to copy everything, Control C. And I'm going to go over back to Android Studio, Lab 1, and I'm going to find that activity main for Hello World and overwrite it. So it's a resource under here, under Res, under Layout. So up here in the upper left, expand Res, expand Layout, double click on Activity Main. It's showing me Design View. This is the design of my layout. I want the code for my layout. And then I'm going to highlight all of this and Control V and put in that other XML. So I just took one XML and replaced it with the XML of the Hello World. I'll do a save just because I like to save things often. And now I want to do almost the same thing with the other file, almost. So I'm going to open up the other file, MainActivity.kt with Notepad++. The one difference is this package. I'm going to copy everything but the package. So I'm not going to highlight it all. I'm going to highlight it from 3 down and copy it. So I opened the KT in Notepad++. I copied everything, but not the package. I had to find the same file in my program. Here it is, under the app. I'm in the upper left, and under the app, under Java, the first one, not Android test, not test, but the first one. Expand that. There's main activity. Double click. Here's my code, not the package. They each have their own individual package. If I overwrite the package, I'm going to confuse it, but everything but the package I can replace. I'm going to save again. If I made any mistakes in copying, I would see some red. Sometimes you copy not enough, sometimes you copy too much or don't replace everything, or something can go wrong in the copying, but I didn't make any mistakes because I've done this before, and I'm going to save it. And I want to stop it. It's not letting me run it because I need to stop the previous thing. And now I'm going to run this new one. And then my new program should pop up. This is lab 1. You do this. Open up a Hello World, copy 2 files over, put something in here. Fred, I made myself red, and hit submit. So there's hello, Fred. Okay. Make a screen capture of this, of you running this. So you've successfully taken a Hello World and put in my files and made it this other project. You're going to take a screen capture of this. You're going to send it to me by email. Put it in a Word document. I either give you a Word document on Canvas, or you can just make your own Word document. Either way. Send it to me, regular old email. Don't use Canvas email. I get everything you email me in Canvas, I get twice. It's a pain in the ass, so please just send regular email. But that's lab 1. You have a week to do it. You can probably do it in 5 minutes. I'm done up here. I'm going to stop recording and walk around and answer questions.